If you're looking for more traffic, leads, and sales, then today's podcast is for you. We are going to be talking about Pinterest and how I have been personally using Pinterest to really up the game for all three of those that I mentioned. And I actually hired an expert to help me do that, and I have her on the show with us today. Jenny Lang is a scientist turned Pinterest strategist who helps women-owned businesses build their audience, grow their email list, and boost their sales through Pinterest marketing. We talk about Pinterest for TPTers, for digital product creators, the step-by-step process you need to take to ensure that your Pinterest pins are being seen and they create conversions for you. You don't want to miss this. Let's get started. I am here today with my brand new Pinterest manager, Jenny, and she has been helping me with my seriously struggling Pinterest account that I kind of ghosted for a few years. So I'm really excited to have her on today and talk about how Pinterest can be a great addition to your business. So welcome, Jenny. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm Jenny. I've been doing Pinterest marketing for the last 3 years. So I'm a strategist and a manager.
Love it. Yeah, and she had lots of ideas for me from the very beginning, even with my website and things that I didn't even think about. And yeah, she's been a great addition to the team. So I'm excited to get into all the things that we've been working on. But before we get into that, let's just kind of, talk high level. Most people know what Pinterest is these days, but can you talk a little bit about what it is? Is it still working for business owners? Should a business owner have Pinterest? How can I help?
So Pinterest is different from other social platforms because it is a search engine. So it's going to be a lot different than Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. So you have to handle that differently. I kind of like to put SEO and YouTube and Pinterest all in a similar one. So you are perfect for that because you've been focusing on YouTube as well. But yeah, you want to focus on your keywords. And so those can really tie in with your Google SEO. So that's what makes it really helpful to focus on those two things. But it's important to kind of diversify your marketing. So it's not that Facebook and Instagram and TikTok aren't worth putting your time into. They both are. Pinterest can give you a new, broader audience that you may not normally get on some of the other social platforms. So it's really good for brand awareness whenever you're wanting to be discovered more often. It can help with your email list. It helps if you sell products, digital products, physical products. It really depends how much content you have on whether Pinterest will really work for you. It's not just specific niches or not.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I think that's a good point because a lot of people in the beginning of their business, they're like, okay, I need to market, 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 and I need to start an Instagram and a YouTube, and then I need to do Pinterest. And it's like, okay, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Right.
Can't do all of that at one time. So I think that's a good point that you made that you need content to pin, not just paid products, right?
Yes. Well, it depends on the type of business you have. So some are really focused on products. They have a whole lot of products.
Okay.
That's really helpful. But adding in a layer of a blog or a podcast or anything that we can also layer in so people get to know more about your business, that's always so helpful. Even like affiliate marketing and things like that, you can just the blog helps. The blog is helpful for Pinterest, but it's also really helpful for SEO for Google. So they tie in together. But in your case, a podcast would work. Anything that's just going to give your audience more information.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, so if someone was selling like physical products, which we really don't talk about on this podcast, but they could just pin all of their physical products. But then
Sure.
someone, and we're going to get into TPT, if someone has a big TPT store and they have tons of products and they can link to those and maybe they have freebies as well that they can link to, it would
Yes.
work for them as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Love that. Okay, so it's really for a lot of different types of business owners, and I feel like it would be good for most people listening to this podcast, unless you're very, very brand new and you don't have anything to sell yet, then make something to sell first.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so you recently started helping me with my struggling Pinterest account. I did Pinterest in the beginning of my business and was pinning, pinning, pinning back when we were supposed to do like 30 pins a day, and it was just a lot and overwhelming. And so I kind of ghosted it for a while because I wasn't really seeing a return on my time investment. And then this year, I've made a big transition and push towards organic marketing. And so I started my YouTube channel. We've been really focusing on the podcast. I've gotten back into Instagram. And so I thought, okay, Pinterest is also a form of organic marketing. I think I need to revisit this, but I know I need an expert. And so I reached out to you and we had a Zoom meeting, and you really kind of walked me through what we could do to improve my strategy, kind of almost start over from scratch. So can you talk about like what we did for my account?
So yours was easy to kind of transition because you had been doing so much of the TPT. That TPT is still sectioned for your business.
Yes.
So we're not changing the whole account, right? So if you do like a total, if you're like, no, I'm gonna sell wall art, then no, I would honestly start a new account for you because it would be so different. But because it just beautifully kind of transitioned into you teaching people how to do TPT and digital products and courses, that we're just slowly teaching Pinterest, okay, this account is still the same audience, but maybe even a bigger audience,
Okay.
right? So we started showing and changing up the keywords and SEO that we were using for your account. So it's not just teachers. Your teacher resources and your teacher content still dominates for your account right now because that's what Pinterest is like. Oh no, this is a TPT woman. She loves teaching and resources.
Right.
So but we are branching into other, women and moms who are looking for alternative incomes and jobs. And, that's honestly becoming more important than ever now.
Right.
And so we're trying to broaden your audience and get people that don't even know that what you're doing solves their problem. And so that's where Pinterest is so beautiful is I find that Instagram, even for like as a user, it shows me what I already know I want.
Okay.
Right. So I see I'm doing like I'm redoing my house. I bought a house last year. I get a lot of things that I already know I'm looking for. But
Okay.
for Pinterest, you can really be shown to people that don't even know they need you. Right. That the way that they're searching for a solution is so different. But we layer your content so that we are addressing all your content pillars. So we're doing your TPT, your digital products, and your course. So those are kind of different buckets, and we want to diversify how we send your traffic. That makes
Okay,
sense.
so from the very beginning, we had to do some updates to my like overall bio or your
Yeah,
profile.
your account profile. Yeah.
Profile. Okay, so what did we do? Remind me. I know we changed like my name.
Yes, so a more keyword rich name for your profile, your bio. That way it addresses, it's not so focused on TPT, but just more about passive income. So
Okay.
again, we're getting a different audience, updated board names, updated board descriptions, and then just overall revamping all the keywords we use for all your pin titles, your pin text overlay, your pin descriptions. Just all of that really changes. And it just takes the algorithm a little bit of time to adjust to that.
Okay. So if someone maybe already has a Pinterest account or they're starting one from scratch, they want to make sure when they sign up and they have to put like their name and their bio that they're using a keyword rich name and
Yes.
bio
Yes.
related to their niche. And is there any like tools or strategies for finding those keywords? How can they find
Oh
them?
yeah. Oh yeah, so
Tell
much.
me all of it.
Of course. So the easiest and simplest way is just to go into Pinterest, open up the search window and start typing in things right? So you could start with teacher resources and just type in teaching, teacher resources, see what populates in the same as Google, that you're going to see what self-populates. That's one way. Then when you actually search them, there'll be all these little bubbles at the top that give you more information at the top of Pinterest. So that's a second way. Then there'll actually be suggested searches throughout Pinterest. So there'll be pins and then there'll be little images and it'll have like suggested search items related to that, as well as your top performing pin. So you looking for digital courses, course creation, digital products, you could search those and then see what those pins look like, what they're saying. These are top ranking. So what type of text overlay are they using? What pin titles, what pin descriptions? And then there's several other, a couple of back end ways as well that we can go into the ad campaign manager and we actually go into back end and I can actually see the monthly search volume for different keywords.
And
Yeah.
it's like outside websites, or do you think, especially like if someone isn't wanting to pay for something extra, they can find all the keywords they need right inside of Pinterest using the methods you just talked about?
Yes, you absolutely. There's definitely paid options you can use. There's Pin Inspector. There's all types of apps that you can use to really dive in deep. But I don't want to overwhelm your audience of all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
things that it's because it is. It can be really overwhelming. Pinterest is the best for data. And that's what I've loved about it is there is just I haven't seen another platform with the robust data that Pinterest has. So
Okay.
you wouldn't want to overwhelm them with that. I
Right.
would start with just doing those few searches and then trying to see what people are looking for to make sure you're using the same terms that your audience is using.
Okay. So we found keywords and you did the keyword research for me. And then you are making a variety of graphics that go to a variety of content pieces.
Yes.
Let's talk about this for a second. We're not linking directly to the YouTube video. I put my YouTube videos on my website as a blog post, and so we link to that. And why do we do that?
Because that is your claim domain. You own your website. And so in the back end of Pinterest, they talk to each other. So there's a tag on Pinterest and there's a tag on your website and they talk to each other. And because that is your claim domain, it is going to rank higher because it knows it's you and it's going to send traffic there. It's going to do better for outbound clicks. So you are doing perfectly by putting it on your website.
Okay.
Everyone doesn't have the manpower to do that and understand how all of that works. That's okay. We can send traffic to YouTube, to other things. We can. It's not the, the gold standard, but absolutely, I have sent multiple clients straight to YouTube.
Okay. And same thing with my podcast. So I put my podcast on my website as a blog post. And that's also another just layer of repurposing my content just to kind of like take a pause. But I'm on WordPress and I use the Yoast SEO plugin. And so I make sure that when I upload my YouTube videos and I upload my podcast as a blog post on my website, that it's SEO optimized. So if someone were to search for 5 passive income options for teachers, I have a YouTube video on that. It would pop up on my website, but also on YouTube. So it's like kind of two ways to get more traffic.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's
So
perfect.
that's if you can do that, or maybe hire a VA to do that, that would be a good way to repurpose content. Tell me about claiming your domain on Pinterest.
Pinterest has a really clearly laid out directions of exactly what to do. And I send my clients all the instructions just so they can be the ones to like log into the back end of their website and
Okay,
install the Pinterest tag. But it's super simple and straightforward. And once you've done it once, you're done. That's it.
perfect. So if you don't have that done and you have a Pinterest account, you want to make sure that you claim your domain if you have
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
And for TPTers that don't have like a website, we're getting to you. So keep listening. Don't worry. We're not
Mhm.
forgetting about you. So, okay, we were talking about we were pinning multiple different graphics for multiple different things, including blog, podcast, YouTube, but then also to some of my lead magnets, my freebies,
Mhm.
products, some
All
TPT
of it.
products sprinkled in, and just kind of creating a mix of those is the best way to pin, correct?
Yes. Yes. Diversifying what you're pinning. You don't want to pin the same thing over and over and over again.
Which
As
used
far
to be
as
the method, right?
it used to be the method. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Things look a
I
lot
remember.
differently. Yeah. So that's where the diversifying of what you have, we're going to pin your freebie, but you're also going to pin your blog that also you embed your freebie into your blog, right? So you have to,
Right.
at the end, you can have that down there as like your lead magnet at the bottom. You have your products embedded. You have your YouTube channel embedded. Learn more here. That's where the blog is so important. People sometimes forget. They think, oh, blogs are, a thing of the past. They're really not. I mean, some of the biggest clients I've had still utilize a blog or in your case, the show notes from a podcast to
Yeah.
get that extra traffic and to really expand all your options.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have a pop-up on our blog that does, I mean, I get probably 200 to 300 leads every week. And I don't do anything to get those. It just pops up on my website and people sign up. So, yeah,
Exactly.
a
But that's
blog is
because you're
still
giving valuable information, Lindsay. They're getting it already and they're like, oh, yeah, no, I want to learn more because of your podcast or your YouTube channel. They're learning something.
right,
And then it's just right there. Why wouldn't they?
right, that nurture educational content.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that. Okay, so we talked about the old way of pinning like the same pin 5 different times is out. So how often should people be pinning then?
So I like to keep a 14-day is what I do to be extra safe as far as the same pin. So
Okay.
try not to get too complicated on this. You can pin the same pin more than once. You just want to space it out. So
Okay.
let's take one podcast, right? So I could decide that I'm going to pick anywhere from 3 to 5 pins for this one podcast. They're all going to look different, but lead to the same podcast. Okay.
Got it.
And then I'm going to space out pinning them. And then I still use Tailwind. And so Tailwind will then, after I've pinned it natively in Pinterest, then I will schedule repins in Tailwind for, let's say, 4 or 5 boards. So if you've just done a podcast about digital products, we're going to pin it initially to the board that I think is most relevant. So how to make a digital product, all right? That's a board we have. So that podcast would be pinned there. And then in 2 more weeks, it would then be pinned to the next board that's relevant for you. So passive income for moms, remote work, things that make sense for what you're pinning. It needs to be relevant. So depending on how many relevant boards you have and how diverse your content is, depends on how many times you repin it, right?
Right.
So that's where it depends on per business, how many times you do it. So there's not a set, this is what you do, this is how many pins, and this is how many boards. It really depends on how much content you have and how many relevant boards you have for it.
So, okay, let's say I have a podcast that I want to pin. So you make like 3 to 5 different graphics. And by the way, we make those in Canva.
Mhm.
Super easy to do that. And I think they have pin template in Canva that you can use. So one graphic you could pin multiple times, or you just, yes, okay.
Yes, yes. Just not in the like in the same
Okay.
day, right? So
Not in
I
the
would
same-
space it out. So let's say we have the one podcast I've created, let's say 5 pins,
Okay.
one podcast, 5 pins, and then you're going to pin each one to one board.
Okay.
And then you can reschedule that pin in Tailwind up to a certain amount of time. So let's say you repin it 3 more boards, but you space that out by 2 weeks. You've now got that pin going out over almost, 3 months.
Okay.
So for instance, like your Tailwind schedule is out through summer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it will continue to grow because of us working together for several months now.
Right.
Everything I've been doing for 3 months is continuing to work with us for months past this. So you
Okay.
see so much longevity out of your content, not to mention just the longevity as far as the lifespan for Pinterest. So you have some of your top ranking stuff is from years ago still. It's still, we're boosting your account because of all the new pins, but some of your old blogs are still bringing in website traffic for you. Think about what it'll do for years from what we're doing now.
Yes. And
You
that's
know?
the other thing, like Pinterest is a long game, so don't expect to see like overnight results. It takes a while for a pin. I remember when I was doing it manually for a pin to really take off. So you have
Yes.
to be consistent over time with Pinterest versus like Instagram. You have to pin something or you have to create something new every day and then it's gone in 48 hours, you know?
Yes, yes, that's so important. And understanding that before you start on Pinterest, because people wanting a turnaround within a month or two, it's just not possible. It's really
Right.
not. But it's worth the time to put in. I mean, people now, I mean, I have clients that aren't getting anything from Instagram, things change. And so just putting in the consistent time and things like Pinterest and YouTube or podcasts. I mean, you've been doing those things, so you know what to expect out of content. You know, your podcast didn't have this many subscribers after a month, right? Like it takes time to build these audiences.
Right. And just one other thing that made me curious as you're talking about, so you pin in Pinterest the first time and then you repin in Tailwind. Is that like
I do,
why do
yeah.
that?
So that's my best practices strategy. People teach this differently. Some people completely do everything in Tailwind, which is okay. I have been taught differently through my trainings to do it directly in Pinterest. So it does take me more time. So if you're your own business owner and want to do it yourself, you can save a little bit of time and put everything into Tailwind immediately and then just schedule it all out. But I have been taught that it might be a little better. It might perform a little better if you do it natively on Pinterest. And so I take the time for that for my clients to do it in Pinterest first and then take more time to then reschedule them all out further in Tailwind.
It's very interesting. I've never heard of that. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that you're doing that. And
Yeah.
for people that don't know, Tailwind is a paid Pinterest scheduler and you can like schedule it out. They have more analytics, right? I haven't looked at Tailwind in so long.
Yeah, they do have their own analytics and you can use it for multiple platforms. Like yours is still linked to like an Instagram account that you can
Right.
use too. Yeah, I think it was like 12 or $15 a month. No, it's not much, not for the scheme of what it does. There's a lot of other schedulers out there and I've not found any to be as robust as Tailwind. And it's an approved, that's important too. It is an approved program with Pinterest.
Right. That is important. Yeah.
That is very important.
If I remember correctly, they'll give you kind of like little warnings if maybe you're pinning too much or like too close together.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So I just keep it safe with the 14 day. There's no problem at all with that. And if you have little content, you might consider maybe 7 days, and I think you'd still be safe. But you have so much content, Lindsay, that there's no reason to do that. So I schedule it out every 2 weeks, and then know we're keeping your account in the green.
What data did we look at and what kind of results are we aiming for as we improve and kind of revamp my Pinterest account?
Okay. So people get, the big metric is impressions, right? That's the
Okay.
same as like your views on your reels on Instagram. Impressions matter because that is how many people are seeing your content. But
Okay.
we want them to act. So the engagement, the pin clicks, saves, outbound clicks, these are all really important too. impressions are just it's like a funnel, really, if you think about it, right? So just want to get people seeing it, right? Like getting people on your email list. You want people to see your content and know that it's searchable, that you are putting the right keywords to find so that the people looking for your content can find it. So that's why impressions matter, but it is somewhat of a vanity metric, okay?
Mm,
So the next one would be that we want saves. We want saves that your content is important, right? So they're going to come back to it, and that sends a signal back to Pinterest that, oh, this is important. People are saving this, and it actually gets shown more because it's saved more.
okay.
So we've kind of seen that change on Instagram, right? Whether it was when people would comment, or I think the newest one is when people are sending stuff on Instagram, I think is part of it,
Yes,
right?
that's the best one on Instagram now, the share.
Right. So for us, it's saves. Saves are really important because that's the whole point in Pinterest, right? You're pinning things to boards. So that one's important that people want to save your content. Obviously, to most clients, outbound clicks are huge. Outbound clicks are meaning people are clicking this pin and going to your website or whatever destination you're sending them to.
Okay.
But what's important is that this content matches what you're pinning, right? So we don't want to pin something that's claiming to do this and then it falls flat. That ends up being a high bounce rate, which
Mm,
obviously is not good for your website traffic and then as well as Pinterest. So if you are clicking on from a pin to a website and then you click out of that very quickly, that sends a signal back to Pinterest that, oh, wait, no, this isn't a good user experience, and that can push you down. So just to keep people doing, not icky practices, right?
does Pinterest tell you like if this pin has a high bounce rate, or is there any
It
way to
won't.
track that?
No, you can kind of do that. That's why I like to play around sometimes and looking in if there's an issue at all and playing around in a client's Google Analytics and
Okay.
kind of seeing because that's where you can see your bounce rates, right?
Right.
And knowing of, oh, I'm seeing a high bounce rate on this. So that makes sense why we're seeing this on Pinterest, right? So you
Right.
can kind of correlate data together can be really helpful, especially if there's a problem. Or maybe I had a client one time that did a lot of affiliate links and she was getting a lot of sales from a product, but she's like, we haven't advertised this product in 3 months. And I was like, let me go look.
Yeah.
And so I go look on Pinterest and I go check all of our outbound clicks. And lo and behold, this product we had pinned in September had all this outbound clicks. So you can kind of compare data from different platforms and put it all together. It's kind of a puzzle piece,
Yeah.
of layering it all together to see what's working and what's not, or where traffic's coming from, especially for things like affiliate links. But yeah, so the metrics. So saves, important. Outbound clicks are super helpful. And just engagement in general, that people are interested, they're clicking, they want to see what you're doing. Impressions just to get seen and broaden that audience so that people start seeing, oh, what's this Lindsay girl about? I keep
Right.
seeing her name, and then eventually you click it, and you warm up that audience.
Yeah. Brand awareness.
Yes.
Yeah, love that. Okay. So that's what we've been doing with my Pinterest. So let's talk about someone that just has a TPT store and they're wanting to use Pinterest to get more sales.
Okay.
What would you do, like from scratch for them?
I would recommend them get a blog ASAP. That would be my recommendation, just because we're gonna want you to have your own website when possible.
Yeah.
We absolutely can send traffic. There are, TPT sellers that do fantastic on Pinterest. And then it's kind of similar to Etsy too, where you can't claim it necessarily, but you could still send traffic to it.
Okay.
So it just depends on how good your content is, really, when it comes down to that. But a blog is just so helpful, and then you can layer in your products into the blog or a podcast, anything like that, where you can layer it in. But owning your own domain on your own website is always going to be what I recommend. But we can work our way up to that.
Okay.
So even starting an account to start doing videos, you can even do videos to explain it, show how you're doing it. You could repurpose to Instagram, or maybe you're all on Instagram. Maybe the seller is on Instagram and trying to teach people about, their products and making videos about them or some type of content. And then we can repurpose that to Pinterest just to start building your audience. You can do things in between. It doesn't have to be all or none.
Right. Now we did claim my Instagram account, I believe.
Yes.
Is that kind of like a claimed domain? Like if you pin a reel, how does that do as far as like the claimed domain and getting pushed up in search?
Because we claimed it. So it is okay to claim your socials and do that type of thing.
Okay.
I don't like linking. We've seen problems where it's icky. Unfortunately, I haven't worked everything out to where if you post to Instagram to automatically post to Pinterest, carousels and things where it's like, multiple images on Instagram have gone out as multiple pins that are separate.
Okay.
And so that is not, you're missing the message, right?
Yeah.
There's like one here, one here, one there. What is this?
Yeah.
That's not helpful. So that's where we just realized that that has helped boost your audience. And so anything that people are pinning, so let's say you are posting on Instagram and other people are pinning your Instagram reels on Pinterest, they'll be attributed to your account because you
Okay.
claimed it. It's yours. It's another thing that you can say is mine.
How do people pin an Instagram reel?
Yeah, you can, well, you, because there's free downloaders, right? So you can, I could download any of your reels right now and post them on Pinterest.
Okay.
Or anywhere, because
Didn't
there's
know
free
that.
downloaders.
Which I
Yeah.
do think that you can turn that off. Like you can turn off if you don't want people to download your reel. But I mean, I guess there's like it could be pros and cons to that. Like you don't want people stealing your stuff and
Yeah.
like it being theirs. But anyway.
Well, if it's informative, right? So, like, I've seen like a health client, she's posted stuff and people save it as like their information to know, right? Because
Right.
people use Pinterest. They're not just promoting other things. Like, as a user, you use it like, oh, I want to know what Lindsay's doing, but I use Pinterest on Instagram. So I'm going to save it over here?
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay, so if you're a TPTer, you can pin directly from Teachers Pay Teachers, but also get a blog, or it could be podcast or YouTube as well if
Yeah.
but I do think having a website, which a blog would be on, is really important for any business owner. It's your home base. So, okay, now if someone is not doing TPT, but maybe they're a teacher and they have digital products, that would be more like the strategy that you're using for me, right? Where we're doing lead magnets and content. And that kind of person, you definitely need some type of ongoing long form content, blog, YouTube, podcast. So would they be doing kind of the same thing that you're doing for my Pinterest account?
Yes. And you can also actually like link your products to Pinterest. So you can do a catalog with Pinterest, and that's a little more complicated, but that's definitely an option. And then that way it links all of your metrics and you can actually see conversions with that. So, like I had a jewelry client that sold their own jewelry online, right? But digital products could be the same thing. If you're housing like a Shopify store on your website, right, that you're selling things from directly, you can then make a catalog for that on Pinterest, upload everything, and connect the two. So then you're actually able to see a lot. Like I could see the sales literally that were coming from Pinterest with this jewelry client. It was beautiful.
Okay. And is it only like Shopify or certain platforms? Like
It's
that type of commerce.
right. It's different types of commerce. It depends on the platform. So we can
Okay.
go in, that's a little more complicated to go into with Pinterest, but Pinterest lays out everything that they work with and how to
Oh,
install these things. And you have to become a verified merchant, things like that. So it is a process to go through. But if someone had substantial digital products that they're selling on their website, it could definitely be helpful for that.
yeah. And I'm even thinking like a TPT or if they eventually put their TPT products on their own website. I have mine on my own
Yes.
website with WooCommerce. Don't get a lot of sales because I don't do any marketing for it. But if I could like link that with Pinterest, that might
Oh, we can definitely talk about that. Yeah.
boost that. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that was possible. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so we've covered TPT, we've covered digital product sales. So, is there anything else before we wrap up? I feel like we've given everyone a really practical step-by-step way to start Pinterest. I love this. Is there anything else you can think of?
Um, so for Pinterest just being different, it's just a really, people talk about it being a positive platform. And
Yeah,
that's what people go. Times can be Instagram and all our socials can be kind of stressful sometimes. And Pinterest has been such a positive outlet for people and that people go there with a purpose. Pinterest is for purpose and planning and positivity, all the P's.
love it.
So we have people that you go there to plan your life, and whether that's a career change or a vacation or a birthday party, I know you do lots of recipes. People think about it for like recipes and like weddings, right? But it's so
Yeah,
much more than that. And I don't think people really realize that because it's especially for like millennials like us who started out in Pinterest in the old day,
yeah.
we planned all our stuff. It was just
Oh
like
yeah.
an inspiration board. Still is. But I use it for planning. I plan my trip. I use it as a pinner as well. And it's easy to put it's the only platform I've found that lets you put everything from various ones. So maybe I'm interested in doing home design and I can pin from Amazon and Anthropology and all of them in one place. I'm an organized person, so I
Mm.
really enjoy being able to put everything in one place. And for a content creator, what I've talked to other clients about is you need it to be searchable. So let's say like I have a Disney planner client and you can't find what I'm looking for. I wanted to know, where one of her videos was for Halloween. Well, it's spring. How can I find? I'm not going to dig and scroll through your page to get all the way to Halloween, right? And so some of the other platforms just don't offer this searchable and organized manner that Pinterest does. And you may lose the client, you may lose that audience, that customer because they can't find what they're looking for.
Mm.
And that's where Pinterest can be so different. I can go straight and search exactly it. And when you've used the right keywords, that's what comes up immediately. People find the content that they need and they want, and they're actually acting on it on Pinterest. They're going there with a purpose. They're not doom scrolling. So,
Right.
and for people like you want to catch those passive people who don't know they need you yet, but you've got a lot of people there who they're looking for a solution and
Right.
you're now there. You're there to for them to find that you're the solution to their problem, as well as the fact that some of these other platforms, it's pay to play, and Pinterest has paid ads, of course, too, but 97% of their searches are unbranded. So that means that it doesn't matter. You've got you're selling products, clothing line, right? Your Target or you've got 5 products. If you have the right keywords, you're playing with Target too. It's an
Right.
even playing field outside of paid ads. Obviously, that's a little bit different. That layers in, but it just gives you a bigger playground, a bigger audience to let everybody find you and your content and expand in a larger way than what some of the other platforms have been looking like in the last year.
That's interesting. Yeah, because like on Google, the sponsored posts are at the top. So
Right.
if you're not paying for a sponsored post, then you're going to be down in search. But you're saying with Pinterest, as long as you have the right keywords, then you're going to be at the top. So you're getting in front of eyeballs that normally you wouldn't get in front of. So
Yes, well, there will be paid ads. I mean, that we've complained about that in the last year of seeing, sponsored ads, right? I mean, they're going to be up there just like other platforms, but you have a better chance with using the right keywords and consistency that they have been rewarding their users for years as far as being found.
yeah, and I just feel like visually too, especially if like you're on a desktop or even on your phone, like you see a lot at one time and then you're really just drawn into the
Yeah,
pin, not necessarily like what's at the top. It's the pin that then draws you in. So that's
yes,
another, make sure that your pins are eye-catching and they stop the scroll because that's how you get the clicks. You get the
yes,
impressions from the keywords, you get the clicks from the pin, and then you
yes.
get the conversion as long as the content matches the pin, right?
Yeah. Yes, you got it, Lindsay. And
Yeah.
that's also where I've been trying to build your brand so much of like with your colors and your fonts and your face of just like, oh, every time I'm searching this, there's this Lindsay again. I'm really
Right.
interested in her and just building that they know that you're an authority on this subject.
Okay. So
So
when
it's
people
a
are
mix.
making their pins, they should use like brand colors to build that brand awareness. They should use their face if they're comfortable with that.
I recommend a mix. So for your account, I do both. So I have a lot of really branded, I do use your colors and fonts
Yeah,
regardlessly,
yeah,
but with some pins, we do really large fonts of just like grab their attention.
yeah.
And then for a lot of your podcasts, because it's just your voice, it's such a branded piece of content, I
Yeah.
really try to focus on your face and your font. Have that up there every single time because I want people to realize like, oh yeah, there that is again. They want to listen to it because you
Yeah.
were so important last time. You gave such good content and information and they learned, that we build that following and, people share your content.
That's really good. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Jenny. This was really, really informative. I'm loving that we're getting back into Pinterest
Yeah.
and I didn't just ghost my account for forever. And we're already seeing good results. You sent me, kind of the percentage of growth that we've already seen in just a couple of months of working together. So I can't wait to see where we are next year. Maybe you can come back on and we can talk about how much
Yes.
growth we've seen, which is
Yes.
exciting.
Yes.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, I always ask all of my guests this because generosity is really important to me. And I think moms and women who are business owners, as we earn income, it can allow us to be more generous. So, is there any act of generosity that you've done recently that you want to share?
I don't know that I have like a financial generosity because,
Oh, that's okay. It can be fun or anything. This is pretty
but no,
practical.
I am an information sharer. That is what I believe in. So for me, it is such important to have like a network of moms like this who we're all moms running our own business. You and I both are. And that's who I've met and learned from other moms and met other clients is through just networking with other women. So I post anytime in my local mom groups about when I've seen women who are looking for ways out of their 9 to 5. And so what do I do is I tell them what I do.
Yeah.
And then I'm happy to share about the information that I've done to get here. I've shared your website multiple times with moms because it's helpful. Like I
Yeah.
want to share what we're doing. I find
Right.
that some people and women can kind of gatekeep how they've become successful, and that's what I've loved about, I listen to your podcast and YouTube channels as I make your content, and you're so forthcoming with your information. Like you're an open book about what you're giving, and that's what I try to be for anyone as well. To help them out. I don't believe in another Pinterest manager. I'm so friendly with different women from all over the world who are in the same boat as me that we share information and even like share clients. Oh, my roster's full right now, but here's a lead for you, or this is a new program I'm in. Here's the discount code for this. Like you should go do it. Just try to help out our other like mompreneurs here that are trying to run their own businesses so that we can have the life we want. It's just share. I just constantly spend a lot of my time helping other moms try to find their path
I
because it
love
was such a big deal for me to be able to quit my 9 to 5 to do this.
Amen. Yeah. And it's
You
not
know?
competition. It's just there's room for everything.
Yeah.
So
Yes, literally, there is. There's room for everybody. And maybe what I'm doing isn't it, but maybe what Lindsay has is, or, I have a friend who works in podcasts, like just helping women to find that. Just, it feels good to me to know that I'm helping other moms achieve what I've worked my tail off to get,
yeah,
So
that's great. Okay, Jenny. So you said you're full. You can't take on any more clients, but can you share where people can learn more from you, how they can get started on Pinterest, if they need a Pinterest manager, what can they do? Where can they find you?
I'm not full right now. I was full
Okay.
before.
Okay.
I
Okay.
actually can take on another client.
Great.
No, we just have friends that do this. Like that's kind of how it is because we
Yeah.
do manage accounts. And so while you're managing an account, like there's only so much many clients you can have. But I
Right.
do strategy calls for other clients. I've done that a few times now. So if maybe they have a bigger team and they actually want to take it on themselves, then I can do strategy calls for clients so they learn how to actually manage their own. I do audits just to help people get started as far as like what they should do to implement it. And then I've kind of created my own like DIY package as well. So I have a few different options for people depending on what their budget is and their needs because of how big their business is. But you can reach me at email and Instagram right now. I'm trying to work on getting back onto LinkedIn as well. But
Okay. So we'll
yeah.
make sure to put all of your links below in the show notes. If you
Yep.
need a Pinterest audit or a strategy call, make sure to give Jenny a ring. She's been really helpful with my Pinterest account. Like I said, we're already seeing growth, and it's really nice that she just like takes care of it for me, and I just trust her and I don't have to worry about it. Um, but yeah, I really think that implementing Pinterest in your online business can take you to the next level. So thank you so much for being here, Jenny, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.